We're so done with new year, new you. This year, it's more you on Bumble. More of you shamelessly sending playlists, especially that one filled with show tunes. More of you finding Geminis because you know you always like them. More of you dating with intention because you know what you want. And you know what? We love that for you. Someone else will too. Be more you this year and find them on Bumble.
Welcome to the Eagles Checkdown, right here on the Eagles Pinpull Podcast Network, the fastest under 10-minute Eagles podcast there is. Cover news, notes, and opinions on your Philadelphia Eagles. And guys, it is time. It's Friday. It's the 17th. We are 2 days away, 2 more sleeps away from divisional round playoff game for our Philadelphia Eagles as the Los Angeles Rams come to town. This episode is our final preview and prediction. I got some stats. I got some random numbers. And I got a final score prediction on what I think is going to happen on Sunday when we face those Rams in Philly. First and foremost, it might snow. Well, no, might not. It will snow on Sunday. Not much, but it will snow. And that's critical because the first random stat I've got for you today is Matthew Stafford. When he has to play in the snow, he has a career record of 1-9 with a mere 54.6% completion percentage. He's thrown 11 interceptions in those 9 snow games and a 76 quarterback rating. He doesn't like the snow. Overall, he doesn't like playing outside in general. 32-40 outside in his career. 50, 59-1 on the road. Just plenty of Matthew Stafford stats to kind of show that while he's a Super Bowl winning quarterback, and he is a great quarterback, well, has been a great quarterback in his career, this kind of situation is not custom made for Matthew Stafford. So that's check mark number 1. Check mark number 2, Eagles practice report from Thursday. As expected, A.J. Brown practiced in a limited capacity. Dallas Goedert did not practice with an illness, something to keep an eye on, but should be good to go. Everybody else practiced. There's nobody else on the practice report. You got A.J. Brown's knee limiting him in practice. Dallas Goedert got a little cold, and everybody else is good to go. That's a check mark for the Eagles. Let's look at the Rams and why I think the Eagles are going to beat the Rams. Who are the Rams? I know they've won 6 out of their last 7. I know in their last 4 wins, counting the playoff game, they'd given up a combined only 33 points. But you got to think about something. The last 4 teams the Rams have played, the Vikings in the playoffs, Sam Darnold showed he was a fraud. The other 3 games, the Cardinals, they beat the Cardinals 13-9. Cardinals are pretty terrible. They didn't even have 250 yards of offense, the Rams, against the Cardinals. The Jets, 19-9, they beat them. Matthew Stafford threw for 110 yards. That sounds like a Jalen Hurts type stat line. But the Jets stink. The 49ers, they beat 12-6. The 49ers stink. So, in theory, while their defense sounds like on paper that's playing great, while their defense is giving up 22.7 points per game, that number is much higher, really, if you take away those last 4 wins. They gave up 42 points to Buffalo in a winning effort. They gave up a bunch of points to Seattle in Week 18 with a lot of backups in. They gave up 37 to the very Philadelphia Eagles that are about to beat them. This Rams team gives up more yards than they produce themselves. They give up more points than they produce themselves. And while I kind of feel like early in the season I said the Rams were a sleeper team for me, even when they were struggling earlier, but this does not look like a team that the Eagles should be able to lose to. One other random stat here. I guess we faced the Rams 3 times in the playoffs in our combined history. The last time being 2001 championship game where we lost in 89 in the wild card. Buddy Ryan lost that game, and we beat them in the 1949 championship. So I guess it's been since 1949 since we've beaten the Rams in a playoff game. Excuse me. So what better time than right now for the Eagles to get a W and end that 2-game playoff losing streak to the Los Angeles Rams? So how do we win? We win by doing what I've said all week, and that is feeding Saquon Barkley the ball. He had over 300 all-purpose yards, 255 rushing yards. When we faced them 2 months ago in that 37-20 blowout of them, that is the key. Matthew Stafford does not like the cold. Matthew Stafford does not like to play quarterback outside. But Matthew Stafford, if given time and given enough time of possession and opportunities, can put points on the board. So it is very crucial for this Philadelphia Eagles team to come out there, dominate time of possession by running the ball. Easy, short plays for Jalen Hurts to get his rhythm going, keeping everybody together. Keeping the ball out of Matthew Stafford's hands because Kyron Williams and Tyler Higbee, who has been practicing limitedly this week, so should be able to play on Sunday. Without Nakobe Dean out there, you don't want them to have opportunities. You don't want Matthew Stafford and Sean McVay to have a game plan to attack that linebacker position. So you run the football with Saquon Barkley. I know nobody likes to receive the opening kick. I want the Eagles, if they win the coin toss, to receive the opening kick. Set the statement early by marching down the field, having a 7-minute drive, and scoring a touchdown. While we struggled early in the year scoring the first quarter, we haven't had a problem with that lately. It's time to set the tone early. Last week, we set the tone early against Green Bay with the big hard hit on special teams. This week, we set the tone early by just running it right down their throats. They give up over 130 yards per game on the ground, the Rams. I know some of that is because of all the numbers that Saquon Barkley put, but that is how you win the football game. Side note, I hope the Eagles aren't distracted because Kellen Moore did get another interview request, this time for the Dallas Cowboys. That puts 3 interviews on Friday and Saturday that he is going to have via the internet, via Zoom or whatever they use with the Jacksonville Jaguars, the New Orleans Saints, and now the Dallas Cowboys. If Deion Sanders does not become the next head coach of the Dallas Cowboys, I see Kellen Moore getting the Cowboys job. I thought it was going to be Jacksonville. The odds say the Saints, but if the Cowboys want him and Deion Sanders isn't the guy, that's where he's going to go. He claims not to be distracted, but it's something that I hate, and it's one of the dumbest rules in the world that you can interview coaches that are in the playoffs. You just might as well make it across the board, just a flat-out nobody in the playoff, no coaching interviews till the Super Bowl is over, or at the very least the week in between the championship game and the Super Bowl. That's at the very least what should happen. So, final score, what do I see happening? Eagles, Rams, I do see us dominating on the ground. I do see Jalen Hurts doing just enough to win the game. I do see the Eagles defense doing their job again. I am going to go. I've bounced around with a bunch of different scores. But in my mind, the Eagles are wacky. They miss extra points. They go for 2 sometimes. You know, whatnot. I see a weird random number like 26 for the Eagles. And again, the Eagles defense will keep the Rams and another opponent from scoring more than 20 points, as they've done countless times this year. I've got the Eagles winning 26-17, covering the 6.5 point spread. Real quick before we end the show, 4:30 Saturday, Texans go to Kansas City. Kansas City's an 8-point favorite as the number 1 seed overall in the playoffs. I think the Chiefs win. Would not be surprised if the Texans do, though. My sneaky pick, it's like a plus 350 money line to bet the Texans. If there's going to be an upset, a real upset, because we'll get to the other lines in a second, the Texans upsetting the Chiefs would be it. But I'll take the Texans plus 8 with the Chiefs winning that game. The 8 p.m. game on Saturday, Washington goes to Detroit. Detroit's a 9.5 point favorite. Detroit wins the game, but I think Washington keeps it close, and Washington covers the 9.5 point spread. The late game on Sunday is Baltimore going to Buffalo. Buffalo's actually a 1-point dog. I think Buffalo wins that game, but I don't think that's really an upset. A 1-point line is not really an upset. So I've got in the championship game the Chiefs versus the Bills, Detroit versus the Eagles. Yes, all chalk, but don't be surprised if the Texans are going to Buffalo to play the Buffalo Bills. I would not be shocked at that at all. Guys, Eagles 26-17. Let's go to the championship game. Let's beat Detroit in Detroit. Maybe Washington here in Philly. I don't know. Enjoy the snow game. Enjoy it. We'll be back Monday. Now, I'm not going to say hopefully. I'm going to say absolutely starting the conversation of Eagles versus Detroit for the right to play in the Super Bowl and the right to play for the NFL championship. Go Birds and bubbles up.